So this has happened a few times, but this happened again.
Well, turn it on, man. What are you doing?
I'm listening to a podcast, probably.
There's a music dial.
Here, free plug. I think I was listening to the Bible Reloaded.
Okay.
I'll never be happier than Rich Evans saying the name of a show I named out of his supple lips.
Hi, Rich. I don't want to suck you as much as him.
La 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 la. Here we go. It's the Bible Reloaded, logic explosion, like Jesus and Moses, but it's Hugo and Jake. The Bible is jaded, and most of it taken, so get educated with Hugo and Jake. Pull up a new and stop what you're doing. It's Bible Reloaded time. They call it debated, the theist will hate it, like talking to taken, but it's Hugo and Jake. So I'm with the show then, it's not candy coated, it's the Bible Reloaded with Hugo and Jake. With Hugo and Jake.
Hello, everyone, including Rich Evans. I guess. I enjoyed your review of Star Trek Discovery, Rich. You got me to finish the season. Thanks. Anyway, today we're continuing our study of the Bible. We finished Ezekiel last time, but today we're actually diving into Daniel.
That's true.
And this is going to involve the story of, I believe it's Meshach, something Shack, and Abednego.
Okay, cool. And I'm Jake.
This is the Bible Reloaded. Here's Daniel.
He's in a tizzy about the Rich thing.
I swear to God, if
I love Rich.
If it's that, and if I ever get to talk about fucking Star Trek with Mike, I'm just gonna die.
Just him and Rich.
I'll just die.
That's so weird to me. They're very good. Go subscribe to Red Letter Media. They're much larger than us.
Also, Jack, you're a person who exists. Daniel, chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. These he carried off to the temple of his God in Babylonia, and put in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials. You know, actually, it says chief of his court officials here.
Yeah.
In the King James, and I believe different versions, it says chief of his eunuchs. So, just so you know.
Chief of the guys without balls and dicks.
A lot of
Do eunuchs have dongs? I thought they just took the balls, but
they
actually...
just take the balls, I think.
So they just have dongs, or
Yeah.
they have little pee holes?
No, I think they just take the balls. They have the dongs. It's the same. I assume it's done
Okay.
similarly to cattle castration,
Like a
in that
pig.
it's not a cutting. Maybe they put like rubber bands tighter and tighter until the.
We have to invent rubber bands so we can have eunuchs, guys.
Oh shit! You're right.
Yeah. It could be just tied up. I don't think rubber bands were the thing, but yeah.
I'm more concerned.
Have you ever seen how they make rubber bands? Disgusting.
I'm concerned that in my head for about 5 seconds, rubber bands were a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Oh, fuck.
And-
Well, I mean, rubber is. They take the rubber, and they literally have to make a dough with the rubber,
Oh.
and then they make a long tube of the rubber, and then they shoot water into it, and then they put it on a long tube, and then it gets... So every rubber band is one small section of a tube.
That makes so much... Of course that's how they do that.
Right. It's super gross, though. Like, it's like orange, and because imagine a bunch of rubber bands, but like all one slick tube. It just doesn't look right. I don't like it.
Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials...
Sounds like a Pokemon. Ashpenaz, go!
Ashpenaz use cut!
Now we can get to the next area.
To bring into the king's service some of its Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect and handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace.
Aryans.
He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians.
So speaking of Aryans, do you know where that legend comes from? Like the Aryan race in general? You're familiar?
I know it's some bullshit that the Third Reich ended up making up.
Yeah. Based on stories about Atlantis. If you thought the Nazis couldn't get weirder, Atlantis is where they come up with the idea of fuck Jews.
Hitler did a lot of drugs. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief of the officials for permission not to defile himself this way. Now God had caused the officials to show favor and compassion to Daniel, but the official told Daniel, "I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you." So the king says to his head of eunuchs, his head of the royal palace, that bald guy in Game of Thrones, he says, hey, we just captured the city, get some people from there. Educated young men and, well-built young men are of value to this city, so get some so we can have them become part of my court, so we can teach them and maybe use them for whatever purpose. Daniel, one of them, literally just says to the guy, "I don't want your food or wine.
Yeah.
I'm good." And the guy's like, "But the king will cut my head off." Anyway.
Yeah.
Daniel then said to the guard, whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, "Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearances with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see." So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and the wine they were to drink and gave them vegetables instead. To the 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning, and Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. So, what happened was, they didn't want to eat the royal foods and drink the wine, and the people there were like, you just want water and vegetables? You're gonna be really shitty after 10 days or whatever. And miraculously, after only drinking water and eating vegetables, they looked better than the other people.
After only having nutrition for 10 days in an area where nutrition was probably rare, they looked healthier. What a miracle this was.
I'm assuming part of this has to do with the fact that back in the day, water was pretty hit or miss as far as quality is concerned. So that's why a lot of people would drink alcohols like wine more, because it has naturally, antibacterial properties. It's alcohol.
Also, it was very strong. Wine it's not like your barefoot that you're getting.
Sure. So at this time, I could understand how theoretically some royal food, which would probably be more meats, more protein, stuff like that,
and probably cakes and stuff like that. Stuff that with more decadence to it. So because we don't know that sugar is necessarily that bad for you. Although I don't think they had sugar at that time. I don't actually know when that started to come in.
Sure, but the point is, easily you could understand how back then one could view
butters and stuff,
royal food as healthier because of its scarcity, even though we know today vegetables and water are better for you than, eating a bunch of red meat and getting drunk every day.
Nutrient heavy, and also, wine, being drunk constantly, not great for your health, if you believe it.
So, I just find it interesting that in the Bible, it's supposed to be sort of miraculous, I think, that they're better looking than everyone else after these 10 days, when really it's just like, they did a cleanse. They're fucking hipsters. What?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Just... Also, I can't imagine they're having, pizza and stuff, or equivalents. I mean, obviously they're not having pizza, but, it couldn't have been that much worse. I think the bulk of it was the wine.
Okay.
Constant wine drinking, right? Because people would usually, that's why drunkenness was so rampant, beer and wine, for the reasons you told. That's just kind of what was around to drink. It's like when people have a soda addiction.
Sure, it's
and then you don't do it for a month and you're good.
It's like that time on Deep Space Nine when that swindler came aboard and no one could understand why everything was going so badly until it turned out that he had taken a luck-changing device from an alien who died in the prison cell that Odo had put him in.
That's not at all like that.
No, I'm just trying to prove to Rich Evans that once again I can connect anything to Star Trek.
Have him on!
So then we move on to Chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar's Dream. Again, this is going to sound pretty similar if you've watched our entire Bible study. This is going to sound a lot like the Joseph story where the Pharaoh had a dream.
Is Daniel Mormon in this one?
No, he's not.
Not a Mormon, okay.
That's
a Donny Osmond joke.
Yeah.
He's a Mormon.
You know what else is a Donny Osmond joke?
Donny Osmond.
Hey! In the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams.
Whoa!
Which is probably just a factual statement. His mind was troubled and he could not sleep, so the king summoned the magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers.
Oh.
I'm curious, because they list all of these things, what the differentiation between all of these things are. Certainly some astrologers would deal with the stars, whereas mystics might not, but...
Well, magicians, enchanters, sorcerers all sound the same to me. Now I'm just imagining, like, Penn and Teller, Esmeralda from Notre Dame,
Zatanna.
I was gonna say Dumbledore.
Okay.
And then just like like Hubble, like doing her best. Stars?
When they came in and stood before the king, he said to them, I have had a dream that troubles me, and I want to know what it means.
Oof.
Then the astrologers answered the king, May the king live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will interpret it. The king replied to his astrologers, This is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will have you cut into pieces and your house turned into piles of rubble.
That seems extreme, and probably your dreams were just sociopathy.
I like that it's also the houses will be turned into rubble. Not only will you be cut into pieces...
We're gonna get rid of that eyesore of a house.
Once more they replied, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will interpret it. Then the king answered, I am certain that you are trying to gain time, because you realize that this is what I have firmly decided.
They're literally asking, okay, tell us the dream. And he's like, are you trying to buy time here?
If you do not tell me the dream, there is only one penalty for you. You have conspired to tell me misleading and wicked things, hoping the situation will change. So then, tell me the dream, and I will know that you can interpret it for me.
So, I hope the people that wrote this at the time would go, whoa, that guy's crazy.
No.
Because I think they are, right?
I
think they're trying to be like, whoa, he was not there. Because he's literally trying to tell them to tell... He's requesting they regale the king with the details of the dream he had himself, and then interpret it without telling them what the dream was.
You'd think so, but then later Daniel comes in and totally tells him exactly what the fuck this dude's dream was. So... The astrologers answered the king, There is no one on earth who can do what the king asks. No king, however great or mighty, has ever asked such a thing of any magician or enchanter or astrologer. I disagree. I feel like if you're...
it's probably a thing.
They've asked probably magicians and stuff, a lot of stuff that's sort of out there, because you claim to be a magician.
Honestly, though, like, choosing to claim being a magician, that's a hazard in itself. You should not do that.
I'd like to think that every single person in history up until the modern age who was, like, a magician...
Just an illusionist.
I'd like to think every single one thought they were the only fake one. You know what I mean? I'd like to think everyone that were like, oh, fuck!
There's gotta be magicians that think they're real, though. Like psychics that think they're real.
Okay, I guess that's
usually it's schizophrenia.
I'd like to think a good portion were all faking it individually and all thought like, oh god.
But when they're around their peers, they're like, yeah, it's totally real.
Yeah.
They're just trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like the idea of that constant nervousness.
Humanity's really, really fucking stupid. Did you hear earlier? He had eunuchs. There are enough human beings in leadership roles who cut off the balls of their followers that there was a word for what that is.
Fair enough.
What the king asks is too difficult. No one can reveal it to the king except for gods, and they do not live amongst humans. This made the king so angry and furious that he ordered the execution of all of the wise men of Babylon. That's a good way to run your kingdom. I'm mad. Kill everyone worth a shit in the entire kingdom. Weren't you just literally asking, to get enemies who are wise from your enemies because you recognize the value of them in your society if you were to envelop them?
Honestly, though, just take a stab at it.
I don't think he had to personally. He told all of his guards to take a stab at all of the wise men, and that's
good pun.
So the decree was issued to put the wise men to death, and the men were sent to look for Daniel and his friends to put them to death.
Oh.
They're included in this.
Yeah.
For reasons.
Okay.
When Arioch, the commander of the king's guard, had gone out to put to death the wise men of Babylon, Daniel spoke to him with wisdom and tact. He asked the king's officer, why did the king issue such a harsh decree? Arioch then explained the matter to Daniel. Was Daniel the only one who, in the face of, like, a guard at the door, was like,
Whoa, hear me out.
I gotta kill you. The king said I gotta stab you. No one was like, hold up. And bear in mind, these are all supposed to be the wisest in Babylon. By definition, that's why they're being killed. So everyone else is just like,
No guess.
oh, a bunch of people couldn't tell the king what his dream was? That makes sense. Starts unbuttoning.
Alright, stab liver area if you could.
Yeah, if you could, my pericardial sac is right. If you could. What's ancient Israeli for pericardial sac?
Heart bucket. No, it's heart bucket.
Heart bucket?
Yeah.
At this, Daniel went in to the king and asked for time so that he might interpret the dream for him. Because, you can just walk up to the king and do that.
Very approachable guy.
Then Daniel returned to his house and explained the matter to his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. He urged them to plead for mercy from God of heaven concerning this mystery so that he and his friends might not be executed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. During the night, the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision. Then Daniel praised God and said, Praise be the name of God forever and ever. Blah, blah, blah. You get it. He's like, hey, thanks for telling me the dream, bro. Daniel interprets the dream. Then Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to execute the wise men of Babylon, and said to him, Do not execute...
Do not execute!
Yeah. Do not execute the wise men of Babylon. Take me to the king, and I will interpret his dream for him. Arioch took Daniel to the king at once and said, I have found a man amongst the exiles from Judah who can tell the king what his dream means. The king asked Daniel, also called Belteshazzar.
For why?
I don't know. That's just it's literally, here's what it looks like. It's just there in parentheses.
But why is it that?
Why not? Are you able to tell me what I saw in my dreams and interpret it? Daniel replied, No wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he was asking about. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. He has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in days to come. Your dream and the visions that passed through your mind as you were lying in bed are these. As your majesty was lying there, your mind turned to things to come, and the revealer of mysteries showed you what is going to happen. As for me, this mystery has been revealed to me, not because I have greater wisdom than anyone else alive, but so that your majesty may know the interpretation and that you may understand what went through your mind. Your majesty looked, and there before you stood a large statue. An enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. The head of the statue is made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze. You know, the top-down value metric you make statues with. Start at the top with the most valuable metal and just, it's the Washington Monument way of making things. You want a nice dissemination halfway down so you can determine,
Well, how else are we gonna force a metaphor into our fucking book? Precious metal statue. Dreams.
While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken to pieces and became like chaff on the threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace, but the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth.
That's not a mountain. That's just a planet at that point.
Just a big rock.
That's just a big, yeah. Mountain inherently has to be smaller than the planet it's on, or it's not that.
This was the dream, and now we will interpret it to the king. Your majesty, you are the king of kings. The god of heavens has given you domain and power, and might and glory. In your hands he has placed all mankind and the beasts of the field and the birds in the sky. Wherever they live, he has made you the ruler over them all. You are that head of gold.
Whoa!
After you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything.
Steel is better.
I was just gonna say,
Steel.
can you tell iron was for these people the strongest metal they had at the time?
You need to do a little more work on it. A little carbon action needs to happen, a little quenching. We'll get there.
And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all others. Just as you saw that the feet and toes were partially baked of clay and partially iron, so will this be a divided kingdom. Yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partially iron and partially clay.
It sounds like he's buying time to come up with the next part of it.
It does.
Iron and clay toes,
Well, even at the beginning, he was like, I can't tell you what your dream is, but God has revealed to you the things of which have happened. The things of which you saw in your dreams, which God had shown you in your dreams, which of course you know will happen. It was like...
It's definitely a time buy.
It's like when Trump's talking about something that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He's just trying to like,
it's tremendous.
It's tremendous. The thing...
People, you may not know, people are saying that this is tremendous. And thus it is tremendous.
There was a statue. The head was gold. Golden statue.
But also, wait, it also had bronze, because it wasn't all gold.
It was inferior. It was made in China.
Okay, well, neither of us can do a Trump, but when you do the China thing, it's
China.
It just sounds like someone from China saying China in English.
China.
Close.
If we don't die, the memes have been fantastic.
Yeah, but he's gonna fire us soon. He's running out.
Yeah,
he's running out. It's gonna trickle down to us eventually.
He's gotta get to us eventually. Yeah. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms and bring them to an end, but it will itself endure forever. This is the meaning of the vision of the rock cut out of a mountain, but not by human hands, a rock that broke the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold to pieces.
It was a rock made of carbon fiber.
Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel and paid him honor, and ordered that an offering and incense be presented to him. The king said to Daniel, "Surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery." Then the king placed...
Soink, Scoob!
Yeah. Then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and placed him in charge of all of its wise men. Moreover, at Daniel's request, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained at the royal court.
And Joseph.
It's very similar to Joseph. It happens the exact same way.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same way.
Pretty close.
But it's about there. And next time we're going to talk about Nebuchadnezzar has some more dreams. Daniel interprets those dreams. At some point there's a furnace that they all get thrown into, and I know there's a VeggieTales version which I might reference at some point.
Like a grill? Like VeggieTales gets put like a grill? Grilled veggies?
No, in VeggieTales they tell the story and it's a furnace they throw them all in to die.
Oh. And they all die?
No. Oh. Jesus shows up despite this being an Old Testament story.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But Hosea is like 4 pages away.
Yeah, that's good. We're gonna probably finish this chapter next time.
Yeah, when it stops snowing outside, we should be with Jesus. Woo! I mean that literally we are going to die.
So, you can always follow us on Twitter at Bible Reloaded.
Papa Bird Jake.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It's at Papa Bird Jake now. You can follow me at Hugo Reloaded. You can also, if you like watching video games be played, same respectively on Twitch.
Yes, I am at Actual Jake on there, and you're Hugo Reloaded. I stream pretty much every Monday and Saturday, most of the time. I didn't do this last Monday, but so yeah, I'm pretty regular. And then you usually do nights.
Yeah,
it's some random nights right now.
Right now it's random. I might set up a more concrete schedule.
We'll have links in the description so you can go over to both.
But so far I'm doing Batman Arkham Asylum playthrough and Resident Evil 7 VR. So
yeah, and I just do whatever you guys want to do. Sometimes it's just Q&A. Sometimes it'll just be sitting down doing D&D. Sometimes I'll be just talking to you guys. Sometimes we'll be playing video games. Sometimes with you. I don't know.
You can also go to our Discord. I think we have over 2,000 members.
Well
or
over
something
2,000
like that
at this
now.
point. By the way, we got raided by a bunch of Warhammer fans, and by a bunch I mean 8.
Oh,
And they were doing Warhammer memes. So if you're into, we're big enough to where like 4chan and Reddit sometimes, like there was a 4chan raid too, and it was like 13 people showed up, memed a little bit, and then they go, the person who started this didn't show up, so we don't know what to do. Bye. So we're big enough to get raided by very small subreddits and 4chan. So
4chan, don't go toe to toe with me. I've seen more traps than you'll ever forget. Hi again, Rich Evans.
Oh God!
Welcome to the show.
God damn it!
I
Okay.
hope you're enjoying yourself.
My goodness gracious!
Are you playing some Dead Rising 2? Are you you trying to think
Do you
about?
stalk Rich Evans?
Do you think about
He
how
sucks him.
how Mike does nothing but hurt you continually?
I wonder what the relationship is like off camera.
A lot like ours, I'd imagine. Anyway, that's enough fucking Rich Evans references, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you get one. Every time you mention us, it's a Rich Evans episode, right?
I think we're nicer to Rich Evans on this show than his real friends are on his actual show.
I love Rich. He's fucking funny.
Yeah. Anyway.
He's like if I don't know how to describe this. Somewhere in there is a Carl Pilkington, but I can't quite place what part of his personality is that.
He's too self-aware to be Carl.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he's Carl Pilkington with like a really developed frontal cortex.
He's not dumb though.
Well, I think Pilkington is a genius.
You think he's a character?
I think it started out he was just a weirdo, and then they called him on it, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of a weirdo," and then Pilkington is just fucking funny. I think it's an act.
Rich Evans knows what he's about.
That's why I agree. I think Rich Evans is a man of the people. Rich Evans 2020. Oprah and Rich Evans, of course. Rich Evans, Oprah. Then he'll die, right? In office, probably. Probably from some stress Mike caused.
Rich Evans.
Oprah rises to power, and then we all trade an O magazine, and that's how this all gets wrapped up. Rich Evans is actually the cause of the rise of the O. And we voted him in.
This is a lot like...
It's the Fourth Reich.
This is actually a lot like an episode
of
The Next Generation. Anyway, until next time, I'm Hugo.
Oh, God. All right, I'm Jake. Tune into our new podcast called The Tangent with Hugo and Jake.
Anyway, so Riker, there's this genderless alien. Okay.
All right. You have
Hear me out.
30 seconds.
Okay, so Riker falls in love with a genderless alien.
Yeah.
But the alien says no.
Okay.
Or no, the alien's into it.
Okay.
But then Seth MacFarlane shows up and he's like, you can't change the sex of this kid. And then it turns out it's all about the Next Generation fan script because Seth MacFarlane thinks that the Orville is his own personal fucking time to play Next Generation.
You made it. That was a good time.
Oh.